Well, again, my name is Alan Rich. I'm the managing broker at Max One Realtor and Realtor Partners. This is our weekly real estate backstory. We do this every Monday morning where we kind of go through the comings and goings, everything happening in the real estate world. So, we have a lot of things to kind of talk about today. And so I wanted to start about something that you may see in the news, which is that there's always been lawsuits and all sorts of lawsuits based around commissions and in the real estate world. But there's a new one right now that just got moved over into class action status. And that's actually a pretty big deal when it comes to these lawsuits. Now, let me just start off and say that to begin with, these lawsuits are not in Georgia. All right. So our MLSs aren't involved. It's not even listed as being a state in Georgia, in part because our MLS rules and some of our state rules were slightly different. So we're not named in this lawsuit, but it does have some wide-ranging impacts for real estate, and we need to be conscious of that and conscious in how we are operating our businesses and what we're saying to folks, because at the heart of this this lawsuit is, what are buyers agents worth and how should they be paid, is really what it comes down to. See, in a lot of places, and even prior to 2020, which is when like most of this lawsuit happens, from like 2015 to 2020, a lot of agents were spending their time, or not spending their time, they were going out and they were marketing that their services as a buyer's agent was free. And so, and that's why there's been so many rule changes inside the real estate world and that kind of stuff. And that's why the lawsuit, was ended in 2020, because in 2020, NAR made a lot of changes and things like that. So, as a realtor, as a real estate professional, do not state that your services are free, because they aren't. But we have to look at how the potential impacts that this has on our real estate community. My mom lives in Australia. And so I understand how real estate works in Australia. And over there is no buyer representation. And, there's only listing agents. And so I think to start off with, we've got to be ready or prepared to protect buyer agent commissions. It's important. Our buyers need representation. It's better for our buyers to be represented in a transaction by somebody that has their best interest in mind. And we're going to save them money and kind of walk them through the entire process as that goes. So understand that even though this lawsuit is not directly in Georgia, like we do need to make sure that we're behaving properly in how we talk about buyers agencies, that we are actually looking out for buyers agency. Now, even just this past weekend, one of our agents had a seller who's like, am I required to offer buyer agent compensation? And this seller had already signed a listing agreement where she had already agreed to pay the buyer's agent, and we had already marketed the property that way. And so in that instance, yeah, I mean, you've already, that's a legal binding document at that point. And so it needs to be, and on the other side, we also need to be protecting, that buyer's agency side of things. Now, one thing that does kind of worry me a little bit, if I'm being honest here, and I want to kind of share this with you guys. And so that is that when you look at agent representation, so NAR, just did every year that they release a lot of information about buyers and sellers, perspective and what's happening in the market and that kind of stuff. And so the new one just came out this past week, and in there they talk about agent representation and disclosure. And what really, really worries me, and it bothers me, and when you look at these two issues together, it's very concerning, because when was the disclosure statement signed? When was that agent representation? It's called different things in different states, but that's why it's just disclosure statement. But it's the agency relationship. 25% said that it was done at the first meeting. Another 20%, 21% said that it was done when the contract was written. But then we had 10% that said it happened at some other time. Now here in Georgia, it has to be done by the time that the offer submitted. Another 25% said no, it wasn't done at all. And almost another 20%, another 19% didn't know. And so this is one of those issues that, to me, we are failing as an industry when so many of our clients don't understand what they're signing, what like what the agreements are, that kind of thing, like what, who we represent in a transaction. We have to be very clear about that. And then, and as a buyer's agent, we have to put out there that these are the services that I offer, and this is the commission that I charge. It's very customary that the seller will pay all or part of that commission, but if not, Mr. Buyer, you are still going to have to pay my services, and this is the fees, which is why we get a buyer brokerage engagement done in advance, kind of thing. So please, just understand that it's about communication with your clients. It's about being very clear about that. So, I kind of wanted to just kind of jump into that. Moving on, I want to look at NAR has a new program called NAR Spire, and this is National Association of Realtors mentorship program. I am signed up as one of the mentors in the mentorship program. And so if you are a seasoned agent and you would like to assist newer realtors, please, there's an opportunity for mentors to sign up, but there's also a really great opportunity for mentees to sign up. Mentees are anyone that's been licensed for less than 2 years and is looking to grow their business and would like to work with a mentor. You will not normally work with agents inside your brokerage. You can request one. You can either request a mentor or request a mentee as far as that goes. But this is one of those where a lot of folks are always saying, well, where's my value in realtor? Well, this is one of those, those little known programs that's part of being a realtor, that you can sign up and be part of the mentorship program. And it's part of your dues and the fees that you do. And so the deadline to apply is on May 31st. And so I'm going to encourage you that whether you're a realtor or whether you're whether you're a seasoned realtor or whether you're a new realtor, please, you can go to NAR Realtor /NAR-Spire in order to sign up for this program and be a mentor, help folks out. I think it's a really great thing for mentors to do. I think it's also a really great thing because so many new agents fall out of our industry just because the biggest thing they're missing is mentorship, in my opinion. All right. Whoops. Let's see. So, okay, let's see. I'm going to try and turn this off here. All right. So I'm going to hit the wrong button. So mortgage rates dropped again last week. So we saw another slight drop in interest rates last week, and that's really kind of fueling what we're seeing. We're seeing mortgage applications that are up highly right now. They're continuing to grow, and the buyers are really coming back. Our spring market is really on fire right now, and so we're starting to see a lot more activity coming in as far as that goes. Now, a lot of that is really fueled by what we're seeing happen with inflation, and so the price indexes are coming down, and we've seen where as inflation drops, we're going to keep seeing where interest rates drop, and that's like really, really good news for us. Now, I want to share a couple of things with you on that we've seen kind of happening, or not happening, but people that are missing out. So the first one is that so many of our buyers, especially our first-time buyers, could sure use some sort of a down payment assistance. And me personally, I've never been that huge of a fan of, when I say that, let me back up. The Georgia Dream program, the reason I hadn't been a fan is because the funding fee has to be paid up front. And for $5,000, it was really kind of tough. Well, the funding fee has increased on there. So for in the Atlanta area kind of thing, on those, you can see all those counties listed. And so long as they don't buy a home that's more than $350,000 and they make less than 86 if you're two people, three or more people, less than 100,000 basically, then they can qualify for this. And so now the standard down payment assistance is $10,000. Now they are still required to come up with a minimum of $1,000, which is really a pretty small amount kind of thing. But this $10,000 that's the new equity amount. And so, or entitlement amount, used to be $5,000. So they've doubled it. Now for our PIN programs, protectors, educators, and nurses, that's now $12,500 is that entitlement. And so like as we're moving into this market, previously up to now, boomers have really been ruling our market, but there's so much pent up demand in the millennial space, in our first time buyers. And so anything that we can do to help them with down payment is going to be something that we really need to jump into and really try and assist them with. Now, one thing that we are getting a lot of requests about, a lot of sellers, I mean, a lot of buyers and sellers both asking us about, is what happens, so many of our mortgages are assumable. And so if your seller has a FHA, a VA, or a USDA loan, in most cases, they need to check their loan docs, but the vast majority of these are assumable loans. And if you have a house that has a 2.5% or a 3% mortgage rate on there, and it has an assumable loan, well, it seems like a no-brainer that this would be a really good thing to be able to offer as a seller to a potential buyer. And in theory, it really is. But the devil's in the details. And the reason why this has been a real challenge for us to be really getting any off the ground with it, I guess you'd say, is that because finding a lender that wants to be in the second position is hard to do, especially on a purchase. So let's say that you've got a 3% mortgage, FHA mortgage on your property. You want to be able to, let someone assume that. Well, that will stay in the very first position on that property. And so in most cases, someone would have to come in and the only plan that we're seeing where on FHA and USDA loans is when that buyer is coming in with a large cash amount, large enough to make up for that difference. And that makes it a pretty small buying pool. Now, the other place where we are seeing a good bit of success here is in veteran to veteran assumption of VA loans, because VA loans, they can go and get because the VA is in the first position, they can get another VA, and VA is VA kind of thing. And so they can get a second VA loan in there. Now, also, it's interesting with a VA loan, it can be assumed by a non-veteran. But then again, the challenge of assuming a veteran loan is that if you're not a veteran, you'd have to go get another loan from a private entity. They wouldn't be able to go get a second VA loan unless they are a veteran. But that being said, the reason I say that is because a lot of our sellers, a lot of our buyers and agents don't realize how many active military and veterans we have. And so about 23% of the United States, of our buyers, of our sellers, are either active or veteran. So almost 1 out of 4. And so if you have a seller that has a low interest VA loan, would it not be great to be able to offer that as an assumable VA loan? And for those VA buyers, that becomes a really great thing that they could move into. And so, I'm not seeing where for FHA and even for USDA that's been very successful. We haven't had any of those, but we are starting to see where assumable VA loans are a really nice thing. So make sure that when you're talking to your sellers, asking how is their current mortgage? What are those interest rates? Is it assumable? Is that something that we can offer to our buyers to make our property even more appealing out there? So, I just think it has a lot of potential for us to really be able to share that information out with our clients. So, the National Association of Realtors, every year they come out and they do a buyer seller generational trends. And so some things I kind of want to share with you. I just picked out some of the highlights from this trend because it really does have a lot of impact into our marketplace and what we're seeing happen. And so the first thing is, if you look at kind of what's happened over the past year, like when it comes down to like who was the, which share of which generation was the big winners when it came to real estate in the last year. Boomers were really probably the biggest winners when it came to both buying and selling. They were our biggest winners, and our if you want, I'm not sure losers is the right way to put it, but the one that had the most pressure on them was our millennials. Our millennials had a lot of pressure, and in all reality, this really needs to be reversed, right? Because we need more first-time buyers to move into our like that's where wealth in the United States is created, kind of thing. So we really want to make sure that we are trying to help our millennials out a lot more so than or as much as we can. I mean, we can't, we're never going to be able to just set things up, but like we're seeing where prices are leveling off. We're seeing where interest rates are coming down. And so we are going to be seeing more and more millennials and first-time buyers moving into our market as it improves out there for them in that case. Now, one interesting stat that we found is the number of households with children for our buyers is really low. 70% of our buyers and 70% of our sellers have no children in the home. And so I found that to be a very interesting stat. Now there are, for your buyers in that 33 to 42, they do have a much higher percentage of kids in the home. But overall, I mean, I just found this to be a very interesting stat that almost 70% of all of our buyers and sellers don't have kids when they sell. And we've been seeing this in the selling space for a long time for a lot of our sellers for the past several years. Once the kids move out, that's when we're seeing folks wanting to sell their home. But now we're seeing where that's also the case on our buy side as well. Overall, which group has the greatest number of first-time buyers? Well, this is no real shocker here, but about 25%, almost 1 out of 4 of all of our buyers are first-time buyers. Now, of course, our millennials are going to make up the biggest piece of that. From anybody from 24 to 42, half to 2/3 are first-time buyers. And so I say that just because we have to make sure that we're doing a good job of educating our clients. Even for the clients that aren't first-time buyers, like if they bought previously, the market that we're in is not like any other market that we've been in. I mean, that's the only constant we have is change. And so, and seeing how many folks don't understand representation and how much pressure there is in our market, we need to become educators. Being educators is so important for our clients, explaining what's happening in the market, explaining what the buying and selling process is. It's really, really important for us. Now, let's see. Now, one of the interesting thing is that our population gains are being driven primarily by the suburbs. And so if you look at the top 10 counties in annual population growth, 2 of those counties are in Georgia. 2 of the top 10 in the United States are in Georgia, and they aren't in suburban. These are outer suburbs kind of thing. And so we're seeing where people are willing to move in order to find the homes and be able to afford the home. So people are moving for affordability, among other things right now. And so like what you see is that the distance between home purchased and their previous residence has blown up. Previous to pre-COVID here in Georgia, our distance moved was 14 miles. Post-COVID, it's 50. Now we're moving 50 miles or more from the home that we sell to the home that we buy. And that's a really big deal. We've seen where people are willing to move, and it's driven heavily by price, availability, condition, things like that. So, again, these are very important factors for us to, and so like used to be like, oh, no one wants to live out there. It's out in the boonies, in the middle of nowhere. Wrong. As long as it's got high-speed internet, there's a lot of folks that are willing to move out there. So, at the same time, how's also released, how long are folks moving into the home? And so that right now, the younger that your seller is, or the younger that your homeowner is, probably the shorter amount of time they're planning on spending in the home. Right now, the median is between 10 and 11 years, how long we're spending in a home before we move. A lot of folks plan on doing it much longer, but 10 to 11 years is kind of like the sweet spot in there for, and that's important to know for like in the market. You don't want to market don't farm a neighborhood that's only 5 years old. That doesn't make sense. No one's going to sell for another 5 or 6 years in there. But, that being said, the younger that the homeowner is, the more likely they are to move earlier rather than later. What are the characteristics on where our buyers are compromising? And right now, I think we all see this. And the number one area where we're compromising is on price. A lot of our buyers, there is some sticker shock going on out there. And here in Georgia, we're still not seeing property values decline. Now, we aren't seeing the property value appreciate at the same rate as we were previously, but we're not seeing property values decline. And so, like, for our buyers, and I don't ever want to have a client that I make house poor, but we have to understand, like price is the number one thing that our buyers are compromising on that. After that, it comes down to condition of the home, size of the home. And so those are our big three: price, condition, size. So, if we can't afford it, we will give up on the price. And then if not, then we'll give up on the condition of the home. If not, then we start downsizing the size of the home. And we've actually seen the sizes of homes go down as we've seen prices go up, just because people could afford less moving forward on that. How long are our buyers searching for right now? Right now, all of our buyers are searching for a total of an average of about 10 weeks is their average time that they're actively searching for homes. Now, they look for homes for 3 weeks before they actually engage an agent. Now, during that 3 weeks, they're looking for, who am I going to partner with? And so they're going to be, that's where they go in and they're pulling up properties and they're looking at properties online, which is why it's so important that we set up things like setting up property searches and things like that, being engaging on social media. Right now, our average buyer is looking at 4 homes online, and then they're viewing 5 homes in person. That's kind of the normal. Now, what's very interesting is a lot of folks are like, well, inventory is really tight. Well, that's also kind of kept us like if you were selling back in 2007, 2008, the average buyer looked at between 7 and 9 homes before they in person kind of thing. So our buyers right now, partly driven by, we have very tight inventory still, on average. And for buyers agents, this is kind of like if you're showing more than 5 homes, maybe you're not doing a good job of helping them select and narrow down that home search process as far as that goes. Now, where are our buyers finding the home that they purchased? Over half of our buyers are finding their home themselves online. And I think this is kind of a kick in the gut to us as well, because we should be the ones who's really helping our clients to find it. The fact that they're going out and they're doing all the work when I say doing all the work, they're doing the work on the search side. Like we should be setting up property searches for our clients and then helping them narrow that list down and continue. Like it's the number one thing that our buyers want from us is help us find the home. And so for our buyers, we really have got to make sure that we are doing a better job than the internet. If you want to get replaced by the internet, let the internet keep, be the number one source of listing information out there. We need to be setting up property searches for our clients. It is so vitally important that we're the source, because again, we talked earlier about, what are buyer agents worth? Who's going to pay them? Well, when we're the ones sending the properties to our clients and they're not the ones finding it on Zillow, that's value to our clients. And it's important that we are doing these things properly. About 30% of the homes purchased were found through an agent. We really need to take this back from the internet, and it can only be done if we really ramp up our property searches and setting up automatic property searches for our clients. Every one of your clients should have property searches set up, and you can set them up in Georgia MLS, you can set up in FMLS, you can set them up on KV Core, almost every, whatever database and CRM and website system you have, there's ways that you can do this. So there's no excuse for your clients not to have property searches set up. And it's vitally important that we're doing this. What do our sellers, what do our buyers say is the most difficult process of home buying? Number one, not to beat a dead horse, finding the right property. They want help finding a property. Now, what I found very interesting is that number 2 is paperwork. And see, paperwork to a client, when they say that paperwork is difficult, not that they don't understand it, but we're not doing a good job of explaining it. Because understand, we don't write contracts. All we do is fill in the blanks. We need to know which blanks those are. We need to understand our contracts. So make sure that you're going to any of the guard contracts classes, that you understand your contracts in great detail, and that you spend time with your clients going through the contracts. Where I see the biggest challenge with this is with Authentisign, because we will just send something over and say, here it is, sign it. And then they get a 7, 10, 12-page document over, and it just says sign here. And I know that Authentisign is so easy, and that's what we really want. We want digital signatures. They make our life easy. But if all we're doing is digital signatures and we're not spending any time educating and giving our clients a sense of peace and understanding about what they're signing, we're missing the boat here. This one is really important. So we got to make sure that, because if you look at the second and third most important thing or most difficult thing to our buyers, paperwork and understanding the process, those two things. And so if they don't feel they understand the paperwork and they don't understand the process, that's on us, folks. That is completely in our wheelhouse, and we need to take responsibility for it. So, again, not trying to beat a dead horse. We've got to do a great job on setting up property searches and then taking the time to really explain to our clients everything that's involved with the whole thing. Plus, when you explain that, they really understand the amount of value that you bring to a transaction. So did our sellers use the same real estate agent for their home purchase? So what I found that was really kind of sad is that if the seller, the agent that the seller used to sell their home, only 39% of the time did they use that agent to purchase their own home. That's a big drop. 60% used a new agent, kind of thing. Now, what's very interesting about this is the younger that the client is, the more loyal that they are. So like our millennial sellers, they're much more likely, 2/3 more likely to use that same agent to purchase. However, our older clients are much more likely to use another agent. So that's kind of that's again, heavily on us. So good news here. Our pending sales have now for 3 months of positive growth in pending sales. We've had 13 months of declines in pending sales where pending sales went down. And now we've had 3 months of positive pending sales. And my feeling is we're definitely going to see 4. We're going to be moving into and start going up against these declines from last year. And as interest rates come down, this is going to be a really good thing for us moving forward. So I'm really excited about that. Now, rents overall rents have been dropping, and that's a really good thing. I say this because I don't want you to think that like I'm not saying rents dropping is good because I want more people to rent homes. That's not it at all. You have to understand that for the number one reason why people want to own a home is they want to own a home. Like it's not like oh, I'd much rather. No one. I mean, when you poll renters and say who just wants to rent, it's actually like 83% of renters want to own. 77% say that it's the path to home ownership. So when we see rental prices going down, that's actually good because those folks can save more money. The number one place where our buyers are getting their down payment is from savings. Yeah, down payment is important, but savings is the big deal. And so overall, we've seen where rents in the Atlanta area are down 1.3% year over year. And that's a really good thing. We're going to see this moving forward, which is also going to help inflation, in part because we got some weird supply demand issues going on. And so when you look at multifamily inventory and units under construction, right now, multifamily has been going through just a massive building boom. And so what we're going to start seeing, and what we're already seeing, is that multifamily inventory, we've got more multifamily than we have folks that are going to be looking for it. We're going to have a glut of multifamily. We still don't have enough single family homes, but the multifamily space, we're going to see where rents are dropping. And so we're already seeing where those inventory numbers are really in there. And so you can kind of see what's going on, what the expectation is for vacancy rates in apartments moving into 2024, 2025. They're looking at vacancy rates being some of the highest that it's ever been in apartments. And when vacancy goes up, rents are going to come down. And when rents come down, those yields for those multifamily investors are also going to become coming down. So, single family rentals, single family homes, this is not the same kind of thing. I only say this because we have to understand that it's a really good thing when rents come down because so many more buyers can save money and now they can afford to go buy their own home. Just the fact that like for short term, it's gonna, we're always gonna have folks who need to rent. If you're not gonna live in a home for 4 or 5 years, it doesn't make sense to buy. Renting is better. But for the vast majority of folks who are renting, they want to own. They're just having a hard time saving. So when that rental rates come down, it's great for us overall. Now, as far as training this week, tomorrow we've got Mortgage 101 here in our McDonough office. On Wednesday, my wife, Ming, she's going to be teaching Code of Ethics in person over at our Noonan office. And on Thursday, up in Gainesville, is Licensed Law for Agents and Brokers. So I hope you guys have a great week. If I be any kind of service, please call, text, smoke signals. Y'all have a great day and a great week. Bye.